Last time on Consuming Media.
Skyler White is one of the best written characters in television history, but I'll gush about her another time. By another time, I mean probably very soon in the next episode or so.
This is this episode.
Skyler White, the wife of Walter White in Breaking Bad, has been the subject of quite a few things. Mostly what her role is in the TV show. It doesn't stop at, oh, she's the wife of Walter White. In fact, if you watch the series, she's pretty much the only person who has her head on straight. Oh, yeah, warning, spoilers. If you haven't seen the show, I recommend watching it in its entirety on Netflix Instant. All seasons are up now. And if you don't have Netflix, steal a friend's password. Or get the DVDs. Just get it any way you can. I mean, seriously, this is one of the best shows in recent memory. Do it now. For starters, Skyler White can be polarizing. But she really shouldn't be. Vince Gilligan, the creator of the show, could have easily made her be the dumb wife who was so oblivious to her husband's shenanigans and not think twice of where the extra money was coming from. I mean, really, he's a high school chemistry teacher. How much does that pay? Probably not that well. Especially in this country. Ugh. Gilligan writes her as the wife who will take no shit. If she sees a number that she hasn't seen before in her caller ID, she will call it up to see what's up and what? Her husband is chilling with a former student? And she should be concerned. After all, her husband got diagnosed with lung cancer. Oh, and not to mention, she's expecting a second child and their son has cerebral palsy. She has every right to be concerned. Oh, and he misses the birth of his second child, who turns out to be a daughter. He misses the birth of his daughter. Hey, buddy, I don't care if you're the meth king, but you do not miss the birth of your daughter. I would be pissed too. Eventually, Walter does open up to her in season 3 about the meth business, and this is probably the season where the stupid fanboys, and let's be fair, even fangirls, hate Skyler White. Or at least some say their Skyler White hate is valid. What did Skyler White do? Skyler White gets her old job back after having Holly, their daughter, and she begins having an affair with her boss, Ted. Yeah. About that subplot. Instead, the affair was a way to distance herself from Walter, and be it two can play at that game, let's say that. Let me explain. Walter at this point has mostly kept the whole meth business a secret and trying to cover his tracks up until season 3 where he opens up to her. Skyler ends up sleeping with her boss and does feel bad about it, and when she could have taken this opportunity to hide just like Walter, she goes out and says, "I'm dead." She does end up leaving Ted and decides to help Walter out with the whole money laundering scheme with the car wash, even to the point where she eventually tells her sister Marie that Walt has a gambling problem. Yet Walt still continues to keep most of this drug money a secret from Skyler, and is at the end of the episode Crawl Space, possibly my favorite episode in the entire series, where the final shot is Walt in his crawl space with all that drug money, while he's laughing maniacally and Skyler looks at him in pure horror. Is at this point where Walter breaks, and while the whole show, the consequences are shown, he seems to not really give a shit. Skyler is extremely worried about the consequences and about getting it caught. Fast forward to the infamous Ozymandias episode. The episode opens to simpler times when Skyler was pregnant with Holly and calling Walt to ask what he thought of that name, while he's in his underwear cooking. Then back to the present where Walt witnesses the death of his brother-in-law Hank, who's been chasing him all this time as the DEA and just finds out now that he's a drug king. Meanwhile, Marie informs Skyler that Walt has been arrested under Hank's custody. Skyler, like any sane person would do, freaks out and is then when she finally tells Walt Jr. what the fuck has been going on for the past several months. Shit goes down. Walt comes home packing, telling Skyler that he'll explain everything later. Can you see where this is going? He ends up grabbing a knife and orders him to leave. At this point, she thinks Walt killed Hank and ends up cutting Walt's head Walt Jr. calls the police, and Walt kidnaps Holly and drives off while Skyler tries to chase him down but ends up stopping. It is in this episode where we truly see Walter the monster at full force. Even George R. R. Martin claimed Walter White as a bigger monster than anyone in Westeros, and that man makes a living killing off characters for fun. But sadly, despite all I have said about the positives of Skyler, she still has her haters. Oh boy, do I remember the days on the internet where everyone was like, God, Skyler White is a bitch, and other expletives. But the good thing is, Skyler has a lot of defenders like me and several other people on the internet. Even Anna Gunn wrote a New York Times article poning the haters and having to explain that Skyler White is the everyday woman. Okay, maybe not the everyday woman who has a husband who's a meth dealer, but hey, you never know. Heck, I remember this article of this woman saying how she tests her potential boyfriends. Remember, ladies, if a guy sits down with you and watches Ozymandias and says that bitch deserves that, he is not a keeper. Thank you, lady. Now I know what to do for potential boyfriends. If they begin to call her derogatory terms, bye. What's great about Skyler White is that she could be someone you would meet. She could be your friend's mother, your mother, any adult woman, to be honest. As much as I do like fantasy women and her superheroines, it's even better when a great show shows us women in everyday roles, where they take no shit and are level-headed people. Thank you, Vince Gilligan, for writing a great character that happens to be a woman. It doesn't define her. Her gender does not define her. She didn't need to be sexed up or have superpowers. She could have been easily a one-note character, but no, she was a memorable character, one that we can meet in real life. I'm honestly curious to see how the Spanish remake of Breaking Bad will turn out, and hopefully it keeps Skyler as Skyler. Also, Emmys, if Anna Gunn doesn't win the Emmy for this, I'll never forgive you. No, seriously, you're doing something wrong if you're not awarding Anna Gunn for the Emmy this year.